Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And this is for anybody who knows somebody who is an author of a nonfiction book. Have you thought about gifting them an audiobook for their book? Like literally, you could help them create an audiobook that people around the world would see and they would record. They would have the coaching, the training, all of that. We're going to talk about that today, even the process if you're not familiar with it. And we've got a guy that is totally familiar with all of this. He's been doing it for a long time, helping out authors get published in terms of audio. And he's back with us, Robert Lane from Robert Lane Coaching. How are you?
Good. Good to see you, Steve. Audiobooks make a great gift. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, okay. So let's talk about that for a sec. There's a reason, there's two things here. You could gift them the coaching for the audiobook. That's one thing. But audiobooks in general, there's a reason that a lot of books, including audiobooks, come out this time of the year, November, just in time for the holiday season. Britney Spears has a brand new book coming out. Rob Lowe has a new book coming out. They're memoirs, by the way. Why? Why are they all at the same time? Because it's gift giving season. So wouldn't it be great in 6 weeks, if you're an author, or maybe you know somebody who is, to help them along or help yourself along to create an audiobook just in time for the holidays and then promote it with your help as well, like perfect storm. And it's doable, right? If somebody made that decision this week to do an audiobook, would they have it published in time for the holidays?
That's very, very possible, especially for, the December holidays. If you registered in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, which is what I teach, which is a 6-week intensive that takes you as the author, as a published nonfiction author, I will take you through the process of setup and preparation of your own recording space so you can record it in your own home. Then teach you all the fine, I guess you would say, the fine art of narration and voiceover, so that you are authentic and compelling and engaging. And so we touch on the practical and the emotional aspects and mental aspects of how to do a great narration. And then I do all the audio editing for you so that when your audio files are done, they're cleaned up, they're to the exact specifications, and then I upload them for you for publication into the AAA, which is Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. 3 platforms, distribution platforms you absolutely have to be on. You can get that done. It's 6 weeks, and you do have the time to do it. And it would be such a great thing to add to your repertoire as an author. Ebook, paperback, hardcover, and then audiobook. What a great way to present your story.
I've always wanted to ask you this question. From the time, let's say somebody records, and we're going to go through the process in a moment. From the time they record everything, you get the files, it's polished and ready. How long does it take to get published from the moment where you send it to the 333? Or the AAA, I'm sorry, the 3.
AAA, it's okay. The actual publishing time when it goes live on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books is about 10 days.
Okay. All right. And why does it take 10 days? Is fantastic. Is it that they check the files, they look at everything, they want to make sure it's right?
Yeah, they do one more, deep dive round of making sure they analyze all your audio files, make sure everything sounds good. I mean, in the process, when we do the uploading of your audio for you, during the uploading process, I make sure that the files are accepted, because they do analyze and then accept them as you go along, as you're uploading your book. So if there is an issue, I know about it right away. And if there is, I know what I need to do to fix that issue, because it gives you whatever you call it. I'm not going to say like a spreadsheet, but it just gives you information on the issue that the file may have. I go back, I fix it, re-upload, you're good to go. And then when everything is up there, you do your final submission. They will look at everything. how you have everything labeled, how you announce each track, and make sure everything is to spec, and then you will be published. So it takes roughly about 10 days. When I did my audiobook, it took a little bit longer. I had a client whose audiobook was live in 7 days. So, it varies, but 10 days after you go through the program and your files are uploaded is when it can be published. So, again, if you registered into the program now, you definitely would have your book done by the holidays.
Hmm.
By December, sure, absolutely. Mid-December, your book is live. It's out there.
Um, I wonder about this. Now, when they flag it, it's usually a technical issue, things like that. Is
Yeah.
there any censorship in any of the three major platforms?
Um, it's something that um, yeah, that there's something about, like, you have to, almost like with albums that say, parental discretion, or
Advice, right?
or,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. You do have to let them know, because if you don't, and there's something that's very adult in that audiobook, they're going to flag it. They will flag it. and
hmm.
and so there are guidelines that you do have to follow in regards to,
Okay.
is it sexually explicit? Is it, whatever it is, if it's something that can be flagged, you just have to make sure that this is, it's adult content, and you have to flag it that way.
Sure. And that's reasonable. I mean, let's say we're talking nonfiction books. Maybe it's a book on relationships. It goes a little deep in certain areas. And so, for mature audiences only or something like that, as long as you let
Right.
them know, it sounds like pretty much anything is okay, as long as they can put a label on it.
Right, right. I mean, but if, obviously, and same with me working with clients. I mean, if there's a client who, has a book that's about, hate and racism and,
Sure.
death and destruction, and is promoting that, then I don't want to work with them, because
Yeah.
that's not what I'm about, and that's, I'm not going to promote that type of literature through my audiobook coaching program. If
Gotcha.
you want to
And
do it,
that's a great point that you make there, because you are combing through it. You're going to hear it before it gets uploaded. And if there's anything that is questionable to some, you would make them aware of it, or if it's something, you feel you're not connected with. And
right.
I totally get it. There's, I wouldn't work with anybody if they had certain views that I don't agree with, and that's just the way it is. I
It's
think
just,
that's
right. It's certain guidelines that I follow, and that, businesses follow. And it has nothing to do with censorship. It's just, you can
sure.
find other places to, exercise your freedom of speech. That's fine. But those are going to be other avenues, not Robert Lane coaching. That's just the way it
and
is.
that's perfectly fine, and I align and agree with that. Absolutely, yeah. But I've always wondered if there was any, call it censorship within
No.
the content. Um, that being said, I think most people, and we hear it all the time, the confidence level of getting this done and doing it. It's I do podcasts with people all the time, and I can't tell you how often they say that they're afraid. They're,
Mhm.
just, I think I'm going to do this. It's going to be okay. I think, and usually I'm talking like 99.99% of the time, they're fantastic. And if they're not fantastic, they're pretty damn good the first time out.
Oh yeah.
I share that just because if you're an author and thinking that I don't know if I could do the audio on my book, it's making me uncomfortable. Don't think that. You can do it, right? And I'm sure you've encountered a lot of people that feel that way.
Yeah, I encounter that quite a bit, actually. That's one of the number one reasons for authors hesitating doing an audiobook. I come across that a lot. But
Mm,
uh, what I've incorporated into the audiobook coaching program that I teach is mindset work, how to build confidence, and tools and techniques that I teach you to build your confidence, to love your voice, to appreciate this great thing that you have, in your throat and in your head, that resonates this beautiful sound. And I know people are like, I hate my voice, but you know what? it's not as bad as you think it is. And when you are narrating your book, you're telling your story, you are doing it in your unique style, and you're being authentic, you're being you. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it such a great audiobook, because you're telling your story the way you want to tell it, and you do have the voice to do that. Now remember, as an author, your unique stamp is in your written word. Obviously, when you read a book, there's a certain style and the way you express yourself in written form. Uh, that's what makes you you. So when you narrate your own audiobook, you're just bringing that to life. You're going from, you know, uh, mono to 5.1 surround, right? when you're narrating your own audiobook, and that's what the great thing is that you're preserving your author brand, you're preserving your integrity, your authenticity when you narrate your own book. And another narrator isn't going to be able to do that. They can do fantastic uh, technically, but when it comes to the emotional side, that's all you as the author. That's what you need to bring forward.
Do you feel, Robert, that a lot of authors kind of forget the fact that they are a brand?
Yeah, I think a lot of authors, I don't know if whether they look at their writing from a professional standpoint or if they think it's just a hobby. But whatever your view is, the bottom line is that you are an author. If you published a book, you are a published author. That is your brand. You are an author. You're not just like, I write some books, but I bag groceries, at the local supermarket. That's my career. No, that's not your career. That's that's your backup. Push yourself as an author, right? That is your
Exactly.
brand.
Yeah, you wrote a book for a reason. If you're hiding and you don't want people to be know who you are, maybe using a pen name or whatever it might be, all right, different situation.
Yeah,
But for the most part, you wrote a book because you want to be known for it. And what better way than do the audiobook because it is your book and your voice. People will
yeah,
know you for it. And the brand thing is important. I think
yeah.
people might feel that, I'm just going to read a book. Well, how important is that? It's you. You are representing you, and you could
Yeah.
look to get somebody else to read your book, but it's not going to preserve your book. It's not going to be your voice. It's not people. I hate to say it, but you hire an announcer to read your book. They don't care about your book.
Right,
They're just
right,
reading it and they're getting paid and they're doing that's their job. And I'm sure they sound okay, but it's not you. It's not you conveying what you may have spent years writing or even thinking about writing.
right. And never cut corners. That's my biggest piece of advice to any
Mm,
author who's considering doing an audiobook. Don't downplay audiobooks. Don't downplay it like it's second class versus your written book. Because honestly, audiobooks have already surpassed ebook sales anyway. More and more people ask, and I see it all the time, how just more and more people are asking, number one, do you have an audiobook? Number one, are you on Audible? Can I get your book on Apple? They ask that all the time.
mm,
So you don't want to cut corners in the quality of your audiobook, right? You spent the time and effort and money and blood, sweat, and tears to write and publish the book that you have out there. And you hired the right people to help you, your editors and proofreaders and cover designers and formatters and all the people that have helped you create this great piece of work that you've put out there for the world to see. You got to do the same thing because you're going to putting it out there for the world to hear. So you have to make sure that you're not going to cut corners. Now, if you feel you don't have what it takes, and if you feel that your voice is not good enough, and you think that it is cutting corners, that's a false belief, and you need to crush that right away, because that's a confidence issue. That is something where people have a fear of public speaking, even though they're recording it uh, in their own space, maybe by themselves. In the back of their mind, they're thinking other people are going to hear this, and that's
mm,
where the fear kicks in.
yeah.
And this is why, as an audiobook coach, I help you through the process so that we crush those fears. So when you come in to record your book, you are fired up. you have that energy, you're ready to go, you're ready to tell your story, and that passion and that emotion, the same thing that was there when you wrote your book, you're bringing that when you're doing your audiobook. That same passion, the core reason and purpose of why you wrote your book, now you get to tell it, you get to speak it. And that is really compelling.
You allow people to be a star.
Yeah,
You
sure,
do.
they are stars.
Yeah, exactly. The stars that they are, but for writing a book, and when you say cut corners, even if somebody thinks that they can do this, maybe they're a little bit savvy, and they're thinking, I could do this. I can pull this off. I'm going to go to, Best Buy or maybe Amazon. I'm going to get that, Blue Yeti microphone or whatever it is. I got a pair of headphones. I'll throw them on. I can maybe record into Windows on my computer. I could probably just upload. No, it's it's not going to work. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say it's not going to work unless you know the ins and outs. And most of us, if not all of us, don't know how audiobooks are done, producing the files, what the
Mhm,
requirements are. You
mhm.
could waste all this time recording separate tracks. And again, this is a small percentage of people that are authors and have a little bit of, maybe audio knowledge. You spend all this time, even investment in equipment, and then it all gets rejected and you just wasted your time. You have vetted out all of the equipment. You know that it works. You know what people need. All of this is all well laid out and orchestrated and rinse and repeat. You do it for clients over and over again. Why? Because it works. The
Because it
principle, the plan
works.
works.
Yeah, because it works. And the whole point of the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program is to take away the hassle, to take away the frustration and confusion of having to try to figure out how to do this on your own, because there are a lot of moving parts, like you mentioned. Uh, there are a lot of moving parts, and if you don't have your audio to the exact specifications, it will get rejected, and that is frustrating. So,
Yeah.
it's taking all that confusion out of the equation just makes it so much easier for you as the author to really just focus on doing a great narration. That's it. The whole point of the coaching program is I get to coach you every step of the way. And then when you send me your audio files, that's where I put on my audio editor's hat and I make sure you sound fantastic. It's clean, it sounds great, and you don't have to worry about your audio not meeting the correct specifications, because that's what we do. And that's why we upload the files for you. So if there are any issues, we know about them right away. We'll go in, fix it. It's all good. So you're guaranteed 100% not to be rejected. Your audiobook will be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books.
Mm.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed. There's no question. It takes them time, to do their process. That's where that 10 days comes in after you do your submission. But I have yet to have anybody's audiobook be rejected after that. Once it's
Wow.
uploaded, I've never had a rejection ever.
Hmm. So let me talk. Let's go. Let's go there. I want to learn more about that. So you've
Okay.
prepared the book. You've uploaded it. Once you've prepared it the way it needs to be done to their specifications, you've never had it rejected.
Nope.
That speaks volumes there, Robert, for what you do. Congrats on that.
And it is frustrating when it does happen. We've mentioned before on other podcasts about a client who I'm working with now, who did the audiobook on his own, went to his friend's studio down the street, and they just could not get it accepted by Audible, Amazon, or Apple Books. It got rejected, rejected, rejected. There was noise in it. There was a buzzing in it. There were other things that they didn't even notice. It was not done correctly, so it became this super huge headache, and actually ended up costing him a lot of money to try to, get his audio files fixed. I mean, honestly, I would have just had him just redo it, just redo the book and do it right,
Hmm.
and coach him on how to even do a better narration. But he just wanted to get it fixed and out of the way because it was a frustrating thing for him.
Wow. So in that situation, I'm just kind of curious, did you do your best to fix his files that he recorded on his own so that it would be accepted?
He hired another company to This is before he signed up with me, but he hired another company to fix his book. And it took a while for them to finally do it, but I guess they finally figured it out. But now I'm working with him on his he has several books, so we're doing another book.
No.
But this one's going to be right. This will be done right the first time. And I'll tell you, I will make sure that his narration is 1,000 times better than the other book, because he has now a coach to guide him on his delivery. And that's so important. That's what takes, your audiobook from just being an average whatever book to something that's like, wow, I'm really engaged. I'm so sucked into this story, and that's what you want your listener to feel, to develop that connection, that intimate connection with the author. That's what happens when you have a very compelling audiobook. And that's where the coaching aspect comes in of, this is how you do it, and this is how you bring your authenticity forward. And we talk about these things, and we talk about those intangibles that make an audiobook from average to, fantastic.
I wish I wrote a book and I could work with you do the audio on it. I'm not even kidding. And if friends come to me and I've told them about you all the time, and I do audio and I work on radio, I don't want to do their book because I'm not them. I'm going to have a different sound. I'm not going to do it justice.
Mhm.
Even though that, I love them, they're friends. It wouldn't work because there's I believe that everything is energy. You don't realize it. We don't realize it. It's energy. You're putting an energy imprint on it. Same thing when you look at a photograph, whether it's an artistic painting or whatever. There's energy that the creator put into it, and that's why these certain things resonate. Well, when you do your audiobook, you're putting a certain vibration of energy into it, and it's going to be felt that way by others. That's why things resonate with people. Me doing somebody else's book, I wouldn't even, or an AI voice doing it, wouldn't even give it the.
Mhm.
It's funny. Over the weekend, I'm just going to share because I was laying in bed yesterday, got up, and I'm like, yeah, let me poke her on my phone. And there's a certain voice that almost, I want to say about 70% of the reels on TikTok, Snap, and they're
Wow.
using the same voice, and it almost sounds like a movie voice. So I'm like, that's AI. I know it. So I do a Google and I find, I forget what the person's name. We're using Clarence, and I think it's free to use this voice. It's got a little bit of impact, but it's so benign and cold. And it's just, like people, all right. So if somebody's just throwing something up, it's for fun. All right. Um, but if somebody's thinking about using an AI voice for their audiobook, whoa, it is just the wrong thing to do. It's not you. And people
No.
are going to pick up on that energy that it's not your energy going into the book. And
Right.
you want to sell your book, you want it to make an impression on people. It's probably not going to happen if you don't do it.
That's right. That's cutting corners. And
There you go. Yeah.
there is something to be said about having the author narrate their own audiobook. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who prefer hearing the author, especially for nonfiction, hearing the author tell their story, hearing the coach, the entrepreneur, the teacher, the educator, the poet who's written this book tell their story, teach their program, recite their poetry. There is something about having the author do that, because that's what makes it authentic, and that's what gets the listener engaged. I want to hear the author tell their story. I don't want to hear, another narrator do it, because it's not them, Again, author branding your product, your story that you were so compelled to write that you wanted the world to read. Now use your voice and have the world listen to you tell your story,
Mm.
speak your story, and only you can do it in your own unique style. Bottom line.
When you say 6 weeks, is that everything from the equipment arrival, your training, your coaching, the person setting time aside
Mhm.
to record their audiobook and uploading the files? Uh, that's everything right there.
That's everything.
Hmm.
So the audiobook coaching program is a 6 week program. So the first thing you do, you go to robertlanecoaching.com, you book a call with me because I want to talk with you first. You and I talk. We do a Zoom meeting. You can see I'm a real person. I'm a real coach. I'm a real editor.
He's not AI. This is real.
I'm
This
not
is not,
AI.
yeah.
But I want to talk about your book and find out what your goals are because that does help in regards to setting up what you want to do with your marketing strategies and that kind of thing. So that's step one is book a call with me. Let's talk about your book. We get you enrolled. Once you get enrolled, I ship out the equipment to you, which you get within a week. Then we have our first meeting, and I guess that's really where I consider the beginning of the 6-week program starts. We have our first meeting and we meet for 6 weeks. During that time, you would have already had your equipment. I want to make sure you get your equipment first before we have our first meeting. We talk about it, make sure your recording space is all set up and ready to go. We get you set up with your account for publication, all that stuff. We take care of that on our first call. After our first meeting, guess what? I want you to start recording. You dive right into it. You send me a sample first before I give you the green light. This is where the coaching comes in, right? You send me a sample. If you sound so fantastic, green light, go for it. If there are things that maybe we need to work on, or if there's some noises or sounds I'm hearing in the background that we need to address, we address all those things. And then once that's taken care of, you have the green light to start recording your book. And it is done in separate files. It's not like one giant file. You do chapters are all separate files. Your open, your close, your introduction, all that stuff. It's all separate files. You start sending them to me. Then that's where the editing kicks in. And I start editing your files, uploading them as we go along for publication. And then, of course, I send you the mastered files back so you have them forever. And again, you're hiring me as your audiobook coach and your editor and to get you published. That's fine. I don't take any royalties. If you 100% own everything, anything you get paid for your book is all yours. The files are yours. When we're done with the program, you can do anything that you want with them. It's all yours. And then by the end of the 6 weeks, all your files are done. They're all uploaded. We submit it. Some people get their books done even before the 6 weeks. So, there have been times where 6 weeks goes by and then all of a sudden their book is live. So it depends.
Wow.
But yeah, you can get it done in the 6-week period. You do have the time to do it. Don't think you don't have time.
I've said this before, but I truly think that it makes people feel easier. You are the safety net. If anybody thinks they can't set up the equipment, they don't have the voice, they are insecure about recording, they don't know how to edit the files, they don't know how to send them up, they don't know anything about this, you're the safety net. You've got them. You got them. Yeah. That's what this is all about. How do we find you, Robert? How do we start that conversation?
Start the conversation by going to robertlanecoaching.com. That's my website. There's tons of information about the program, what I do, testimonials, all that great stuff. So there's buttons everywhere to book a call. That's your next step. Go to robertlanecoaching.com, book a call. Let's talk, get you enrolled. Do it now so that you can get your audiobook published before the end of the year.
Yeah, and potentially make a mark there, maybe start selling, because that's when people are buying books. That's why all the celebrities are putting their books out right now. There you go.
That's right.
Robert, always great talking with you. I love your vibe, your energy, and the fact that you want to help people. It shines on through. And thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.